Death is the only constant in war, and considering the title of the franchise, Star Wars obviously comes with a high body count. With all the futuristic and innovative ways in which people kill each other in the Star Wars galaxy, and all the wars in which they do so, one has to wonder which of the major Star Wars armies suffered the most casualties. In this video, we'll be discussing exactly that topic. Not to be a movie purist or to ignore the glory of the Legends expanded universe, but for simplicity's sake, we're only going to be comparing the Grand Army of the Republic, the CIS Droid Army, the Imperial Military, and the military of the Rebel Alliance. Also, please keep in mind that this is per capita. We're comparing casualty rates, not necessarily total casualties. To put it simply, that award goes to the Alliance to restore the Republic, primarily for one major reason: they were pretty small, especially in comparison to the Empire. The Rebel Alliance was a small network of rebel cells that were only loosely connected, and they had very little manpower to spare, with the fleet that the Alliance fielded at Endor representing almost the entirety of their space forces. With that said, let's break it down a little bit further. To start, the Rebels and the Empire fought a very different war than the Republic and Confederacy did. While the Clone Wars was a direct conflict between two comparable superpowers, the Galactic Civil War was a war of flashpoints, sabotage, and skirmishes, and was far more unbalanced. The Empire was without a doubt the single greatest power in the galaxy, while the Rebellion was a fledgling alliance of those who dared to oppose it. For much of the war, the Alliance was being hunted instead of fought, and each confrontation with the Empire always resulted in the loss of a considerable percentage of their fighting force. This now leads us to the biggest factor: size. The Rebellion had fewer casualties per capita because it had far less to lose, and the odds were basically stacked against them. In the Clone Wars, both sides stood a fighting chance, or would have were it not for Sheev. The Republic had a massive army of millions of clones and volunteers, while the Confederacy had quite possibly the largest army ever assembled, comprised of untold numbers of battle droids. On the other hand, while the Empire had an army many millions strong, the Rebel Alliance only had a few 100,000 soldiers at the maximum. This disadvantage meant that large casualty counts were often the case in Rebel defeats, and that each casualty counted for much more per capita. As a result, the Rebels had the highest casualty rate by a long shot. However, if you do look into who has the most total casualties, the results are perhaps less expected. While the Confederacy had the largest fighting force of all, with some estimates putting it in the quintillions, plenty of this was stored apparently in reserve, meaning that their casualties were not proportionally astronomical. The Grand Army of the Republic likely had the most total casualties. As for much of the war, their military complex was stretched thin, meaning that losses were often devastating and victories were often well fought, a pattern that was intentional and likely resulted in the Republic having more casualties than the Confederacy. Naturally, we can't know this one for sure, but after watching the movies and shows, it can be surmised. So that was our analysis on the armies with the highest casualty rates in the Star Wars universe. But before you go, I have two questions. First, which of the four fighting forces above would you prefer to be a part of? And secondly, should we do more analytical videos like this in the future? Let me know in the comments section below. Anyways guys, if you haven't yet done it, follow our Instagram and stay up to date with the giveaway of Battlefront 2 and the $25 gift card, and just follow it for daily Star Wars content. We're regularly pushing things out and we've got a lot of memes, so why not? Anyways, as always, thanks for watching and I hope to see you in the next video.